Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and today we're going to start a new project as we explore the science fiction tabletop role-playing game Traveller: Adventures in the Far Future. Now, I've done a good number of different reviews for modules or different tabletop role-playing games, and those are normally done as a single video. The big exception was my Call of Cthulhu series, which was a 9-part project, and this one is going to be a lot like that one was. This is the introduction video, just going over the basics of what Traveller is, and then the series is going to go on, covering the different aspects of the game, from character creation to how skills are used, combat, space combat, as well as my own different styles and house rules that I employ. So as of now, I have no idea how long the series is going to take. The Call of Cthulhu one took me 9 months to complete, and it was 9 videos long, so I expect this one to take just about as long, so overall, this one's going to take us a while. Traveller is a game that I've been aware of for many years, but I didn't know anything about it. One of my oldest players, who's been playing tabletop role-playing games a lot longer than I have, would occasionally look at me and just like, dude, you should play Traveller. And then his eyes would glaze over as he remembered, attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion, or sea beams glittering in the dark near Tannhauser Gate, but he would never ever tell me what Traveller was or why I should even play it, so it's kind of a crappy sales pitch, so I never just looked any further than that. It wasn't until Mongoose Publishing reached out to me last year and offered me a review copy that I'd ever read Traveller before, and then when I did, it was a sudden, oh my god, where has this game been my entire life? So we started playing it, and I've got several reviews up for different scenarios, as well as a 5-part campaign diary, and we plan to keep this one around for a while as one of our primary games for the foreseeable future. So, to answer the question, what is Traveller? Traveller is a science fiction role-playing game written by Mark Miller and first published in 1977 by Game Designers Workshop. Over the decades, it's gone through many editions, as well as system changes, including GURPS and D20. Currently, there are 2 different versions of Traveller in print. T5 by Miller and Far Future Enterprises, and Mongoose Second Edition, which is the version that I'm going to be reviewing in this series. The foundation themes for Traveller are adventure and exploration. In addition to humans, the core book offers 2 additional character races, the Aslan and the Vargar, though the add-on books do provide us with several more races to choose from, but more on those books in a bit. Because most players out there are familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, and I, like most gamers, cut my teeth originally on D&D, I'm going to use D&D to draw a few comparisons. Dungeons & Dragons is a level-based game where players choose a class such as Barbarian, Paladin, or Warlock, and through the course of their adventures, primarily through combat, characters gain experience points, breaking level thresholds and increasing their powers, abilities, and hit points. D&D characters become larger-than-life characters, becoming more and more powerful as they go, eventually turning into something more like demigods or superheroes. Traveller, on the other hand, is a skill-based system, which is something that I prefer. There are no classes, no character levels, no increased hit points or special powers increase or anything like that. Characters in the game, which are referred to as Travelers, have careers. In fact, they might have multiple careers across their lives, giving them a particular set of skills. Character skills increase individually through study, and when we get to it, I'll also share how I use an optional rule from the Traveller Companion to help that along and help characters get more and more skills and increase those a little bit better. Healing is very slow in Traveller, and damage hinders a character's performance. There is no magic potions or healing spells, and even the most advanced of medical technologies are not instantaneous and they are expensive, so taking damage is a big deal in Traveller and it is best avoided. I love that about the game. It feels a lot more realistic to me. There's no thing like alignment in Traveller, no tic-tac-toe board of morality to either limit or justify a character's behavior. You simply make a character and you just stick to whatever their personality should be. And while there is no magic, there is or could be psionics. Now, one area that D&D and Traveller both excel at is setting versatility. And what I mean by that is Dungeons & Dragons provides the players and the Game Master with a setting, several in fact for D&D, and these are rich with decades worth of lore and maps, and they've got novelizations and different stuff like that that a Dungeon Master can use to help craft or explain or understand the world in which the game is set. However, a Dungeon Master could just simply ignore all of the pre-made setting out there. They could just build their own world and be perfectly happy with that. The rules of the game are independent to the world itself. Traveller does the same thing. It does provide you with a rich setting with diversity and lore and decades worth of history. There's travellermap.com and the Traveller Wiki. I'll go ahead and put links below if you want to check those out. There is so much game world here, and it's all at your fingertips for you to use and employ and explore. However, a game master can just easily ignore all of that, create their own universe, and play the game without any problems at all. A lot of the RPGs out there, the rules are interwoven with the game setting, and game masters who want to build their own world and play in a world that they created and that nobody else has ever played in before, they can run into a lot of problems as they're trying to separate the game from the setting that the game is set place in. So as rich and as huge as the Traveller setting is, game masters can use as little or as much of it as they want. The game gives us all the tools to create our own personal universe, and that is wonderful. So what do you need to play Traveller? Well, the only book that you have to have is the core rulebook, which is 240 pages long and has everything that you need to play. There's also the starter set, which I have talked about in a previous video, which is all the same information plus a campaign for the game master to use if they wish. Either of those books is perfectly good. In addition to the core book, there are some different add-on books which are optional to use. So in the order in which I use them, so therefore that's the order that I recommend them to people. So mileage may vary depending on how you want your own campaign to go. But the order that I use them is first is the Traveller Companion. This book contains a lot of expanded, optional, and alternate rules. Everything from new stats, alternate character creation styles, different forms of combat, and much more. I've employed several of the alternate rules from this book, and I find it extremely useful. Next is Highguard. This book gives us all the rules on building and modifying spaceships and space stations, as well as a large selection of some pre-made spaceships, though I wish it had also given us some different options for pre-made space stations. The Central Supply Catalog gives a huge list of equipment, weapons, armor, robots, cybernetic augments, and whatever else you and your players might want or need during the course of your adventures. Finally is the Vehicle Handbook, which gives us all the rules on building or modifying vehicles, as well as a huge list of pre-made vehicles ranging from primitive rowboats to flying motorcycles. After the core rulebook, all you need is some 6-sided dice. The minimum that you're going to want is 2, but I recommend you have 5 or 6 in order to play it. What kind of science fiction is Traveller? Well, it's definitely space opera. I mean, we have artificial gravity and humanoid aliens, so it's a space opera game, even though some people like to tout it as being a hard science fiction. The starfaring technology is done through the jump drive, and depending on the tech level of the drive of your ship, a ship can travel 1 to 6 parsecs with a single jump, and a jump takes a full week to perform regardless of how far it goes. So even a small subsector map like this, each hex being a parsec, with the fastest and rarest ships in the world, it would still take a couple weeks in order to cross it. Crossing a full sector could take months, and because there's no faster than light communication, any information that's traveling between worlds must be carried on a ship. So with that delay that's caused by 1 week of jump space for every single jump, news and information can take a while, sort of giving the world a kind of an old world or frontier feeling to it, because all the worlds are kind of cut off quite a bit, and it can take a while for any news to go from one to the other to the other. Worlds are each assigned a tech level, ranging from primitive stone tools to high stellar with jump 6. And it can and does go higher than this list shows. This is the range for the 3rd Imperium setting, so in case you're wondering, Earth is currently located between tech level 7 and tech level 8. Of course, game masters who wish to change any of this, the Traveller Companion gives us tips on making jumps instantaneous rather than taking a week, or allowing hyperdrives where there is no jump drive, the ship just goes really, really fast. There's several different themes you could give your campaign. You could do a military campaign, for example, where the player characters are in some sort of military squad, like Starship Troopers or aliens. Or you can be part of a crew aboard a huge naval vessel doing huge space combats and dogfights against pirates or killer skin job androids like Battlestar Galactica. Or you could do an explorer campaign where you visit strange, exotic, and often hostile alien worlds, much like Star Trek. Now, the most popular campaign style for Traveller is what's called the Trader campaign. And with that, you have your crew. Some of them might be former military, others civilian, and they've acquired some sort of small cargo ship, and they're going to fly around doing various jobs with that. Some of those jobs might be legal, others not so much. You also might take on passengers from time to time. Occasionally, those passengers might be trouble themselves, like an undercover agent or a pair of fugitives, like a rogue scion, for example. You have to maintain your ship, which can get expensive, and if you don't, things can break down and leave you stranded. You live your life on the edge, rich as kings one week and barely scraping by the next. Essentially, it's Firefly. Many Traveller fans consider Firefly the perfect description as to what a Traveller campaign is like, and there's a lot of very plausible theories and rumors out there that the show is really based off of Joss Whedon's Traveller game that he used to play in college, but I don't know if it's true or not, but it works for me. When I started talking my group into playing Traveller, my sales pitch was essentially like, it is exactly like Firefly, guys, but with aliens. Say no more, brother, you have already sold me on it. Or we could do it just like the movie Aliens. It's even got those power loader suits like Ripley had. Or we could do it like Battlestar Galactica. Sign me up, dude, because I have always wanted to shoot a toaster. I don't know. For when I heard about Traveller, characters die in character creation. Wait, really? Because that sounds crazy. Yeah, dude, stacks of bodies, 20 characters high. No one makes it out of character creation alive. Dude, is this true? Can you die in character creation? This brings us to the most common question that I heard when I announced that I was going to start running Traveller. Can you die in character creation? No. While back in earlier editions, death during character creations was a possibility, and players would have to weigh the potential benefit of going to another term with their pre-career in order to get some benefits for it, versus that possibility that their character might die and then they'd have to start all over. But that was a thing in other editions. That is not a thing in Mongoose Second Edition. The Traveller character creation system is awesome. It quickly won me over as my favorite one out there. It's kind of like playing a miniature game, where the players create their characters, building little backstories for them and connections to each other, and it is just incredibly cool. Now, the persistent reputation that Traveller has about character creation death has chased a lot of people away from the game, and they've never even checked it out because they've only heard this about it. So once again, that is not a thing in Mongoose Traveller. Or at least it's not in the core version of Mongoose Traveller, that is. The Traveller Companion gives us several alternate character creation methods, ranging from point buy or packages where you choose your character's background and then apply a career, sort of like a conventional RPG, and has no surprises. But for those few die-hard fans out there that want to risk death during character creation, there is the Iron Man method. So in truth, death during Traveller character creation could be a thing if you opt into it. But if you do, I guess it gives you the right to wear a shirt that says this. Now, that's not one of my store shirts, by the way. I found that thing on the internet and it makes me laugh. I've ordered one and it's already on the way. Now, one thing that I do have a complaint about with the core book is that it lacks an index in the back. However, some awesome fans out there came to the rescue and made one for it. So I'm going to stick a link below to a download of the fan-made index for anyone out there that has the core book and would like to have an index for it. Okay, well that is it for this episode. The next one in the series is we're going to go over character creation as I build a player character and kind of go through the step-by-step process and how to do that. And then the one after that, we're going to go over skill mechanics. So if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of this series or any of the game reviews or different videos that I do, just hit that subscribe button. Till next time, gamers, you have a great day.